You should not buy a townhome in Metro Vancouver unless you understand this is a business you're buying into, because you're not just buying a home, you're buying a share of a strata, its budget, its maintenance, and all of its decisions. So a townhome in general can be an amazing middle step, but the middle step is where people get caught. They stretch to the price, then get hit with surprise costs and rules. So here are 8 townhome traps and 8 reasons you should never buy a townhome here in Metro Vancouver. Number 1, never buy if you can't explain the strata's money. So that means the CRF, the budget, and the strata fee trajectory. So people think strata fees are like a gym membership. They're not. They're your share of real costs: insurance, landscaping, snow removal, garbage, repairs, and saving for big ticket items. The big question isn't, are the strata fees low, but are they realistic? Because if they aren't, the building doesn't magically stay maintained. The bill shows up later as a levy or big sudden jumps in strata fees. So here in Metro Vancouver, our climate is pretty hard on exteriors. So we have rain and then the freeze-thaw cycles that come in many areas. Moss, there's drainage issues, so maintenance isn't just optional. So what you need to look out for is a contingency reserve fund, the CRF. Is it growing over time? Are they constantly deferring big maintenance projects that they need to be doing to keep up with the health of the complex? Do they rely on special levies instead of consistent small contributions to the contingency reserve fund? This could have the biggest impact on first-time home buyers because they're already stretching to get in, or anyone else without a cash buffer or is not prepared for these types of expenses. So what you need to do is a stress test if fees rise, and you need to work with a realtor who's looking into the strata documents of the complex, making sure the financials are in good health, because this is a commitment. You're buying into these things, so you want to make sure the strata is well funded, they got lots of money for big repairs, and you're not going to be buying into a headache in the future. Number 2, never buy if the depreciation report and minutes don't match reality. So first of all, what is a depreciation report? Well, a depreciation report is supposed to be your maintenance forecast. It's the condition of the roofs, the siding, the balconies, the windows, roads, retaining walls, key building components that are exposed to wear and tear and need to be maintained and replaced over time, and of course how much that's going to cost. But here's the trap. Some stratas have a report and then they do nothing with it. So you want to be in alignment with what the report says is coming, what the budget shows they're saving for, and then what the minutes actually show that they're doing about it. So those are the 3 main things. Some red flags that you might see is, we'll revisit this next year for the same issue that's been occurring year after year, or something that looks like is going to expire or needs replacement in the depreciation report, but they're not addressing in the minutes. Lots of talks in the minutes about leaks or drainage or envelope, water ingress, with no clear plan to address these things. And then constant arguments about spending. There's one thing to keep strata fees low as a main priority, but if that comes at the cost of deferring some maintenance that needs to be done, that is a huge red flag. This is important because you're buying into the future of the repairs, whether you like it or not. The only question is whether it's planned or it's a surprise. So what you need to do is look for patterns, not drama. That's my cat. So what you need to do is look for patterns, not drama. You know, a heated meeting that is documented in the meeting minutes is normal, but repeated unresolved items are not. All right, number 3, never buy if the insurance or deductible situation is a black box. What I mean by this is townhomes often feel safer than condo buildings or towers, but the insurance is still a strata-wide issue because the building is shared. The part that scares people isn't just the insurance premiums, it's the deductibles and how responsibility flows when things go wrong. So a water leak in a condo is kind of similar in a townhome because the main question is who pays what. And here in Metro Vancouver, insurance pressure has been a real theme. You know, higher premiums and bigger deductibles can hit strata budgets and put owners at risk. So what you need to do is check what are the major deductibles, the water deductibles, fire, flood, etc. Have there been any recent claims or non-renewal issues? Does your personal townhome policy cover the strata deductibles and the exposure to those deductibles that you could face? So what you need to do is ask your insurance broker before subjects are removed if you can get a good policy, if the state of insurance for the townhome complex is in good order, and you can get an affordable policy that puts you in a safe place. If you can't get comfortable with the answers, walk away. So number 4, never buy if the complex has expensive shared infrastructure and you just don't understand it. So a townhome or townhouses, they don't just share roofs. Many share infrastructure that can be insanely expensive. For example, private roads, parkades under the units, gates, elevators in some stacked townhomes. You have retaining walls, drainage systems, and then sometimes complex landscaping or irrigation. In a detached home, owners pay for their own stuff, but in townhouses, you can be paying for shared stuff that you barely use. So why does this matter? These projects don't show up as a $500 repair bill. They show up as 6-figure contracts that spread across all the owners. So what you need to look out for is a depreciation report with line items like retaining walls, membranes, road repairs. You need to see a funding plan that makes sense. When you're buying into a townhome like this, you're committing to all of the expenses that come with the townhome. Number 5, never buy if your lifestyle doesn't fit townhomes. So when it comes to townhomes, it often means more stairs, tighter parking, a tighter living situation, a storage that competes with your garage. So you have to make sure these things are okay with your lifestyle. So stairs, the biggest difference with a lot of condos is the stairs give you a good separation of space. It could be tough if you're thinking about aging parents that could be subject to injury. When it comes to parking, you might have 2 spots, but one might be not unusable, or you have tandem parking. Maybe you live in an area where there's not a lot of street parking and visitor parking is extremely limited. And then there's a noise and privacy question, which is better than a condo, to be fair, in some cases, but you're still attached. And then outdoor noise can carry if you're facing some common areas in the complex. So what you need to do is you need to tour the townhome like it's real life. Bring the kids, bring your stroller, carry bags, open the garage door, and imagine if a car can fit in the garage with a bike or a couple bins or a place for your workshop. You need to really see how the unit feels in real life. Visit at different parts of the day so you can see the activity outside the unit. When buying a home, sometimes you can only see it for a few moments. You can pull the trigger and buy a townhome just viewing it once or twice. So it's important you actually take time to view the unit at many different parts of the day so you can see the activity, the light exposure, the noise level outside the unit. So you can be very sure what you're getting yourself into. All right, number 6, never buy if bylaws clash with your plan A or your plan B. What I mean by this is townhomes trigger a specific kind of regret. Like, I thought I could have the dog, rent it out later, install an EV charger, run a business from the home. What else is you put a shed or storage on a patio, add AC, change flooring, or even just use the yard the way you want. In reality, this is a strata, and strata bylaws can shape your life more than the floor plan you purchase into. So when I have buyers that are looking at buying into a townhome, what I do is we will go through what I like to call our top 5 non-negotiables and then confirm them in writing through the bylaws and the documents. And then if your backup plan is renting, confirm the rental bylaws and the bylaw restrictions. So oftentimes, and I see this really often as a realtor working with a lot of buyers, people fall in love with the kitchen and then totally ignore the rules. In a strata, the rules are part of the property. Number 7, never buy if you're counting on townhome appreciation without knowing what you're competing against. So townhomes sit in a competitive resale zone because you have buyers that cross-shop them. You have move-up buyers, so buyers in a growing family, they need to sell their condo and get into something bigger but can't afford a detached home. So you have those buyers. You have first-time home buyers that maybe with the help of the parents or they have really good jobs, they can get into townhomes as a first option, especially some entry-level townhomes. And then you have the move-down buyers. So maybe an older parents that have kids that moved out, they don't need all the space of their detached home. They're tired of mowing the lawn. So they're going to sell their home and move into a townhome where all the yard work is taken care of for them and they have a smaller living space. Townhomes stay really consistent in the market. Even in a slow market, you have buyers always shopping townhomes. What this means is your resale value depends on things more than your unit. It depends on what other buyers can get at similar monthly payments. So some things that drive resale is location, school catchment, which should be a big priority because oftentimes you have people that want to start families that are looking into townhomes. You have walkability, transit, strata health, whether the complex has a good reputation. In a perfect world, you're looking at a townhome with minimum 3 bedrooms, minimum 3 bathrooms, and attached garage, and not too big and not too small. Because if you start to get too big, because I've seen some 1,500 to 1,800 square foot townhomes that are massive, but at that price per square foot, suddenly somebody can potentially look at a detached house for that dollar per square foot. Or if you have only 2 bathrooms, that means maybe you don't have an ensuite bath, maybe your main hosting floor doesn't have a powder room or a bathroom for guests. It's perfect when you have your main floor with a powder room or a bathroom for guests. Then upstairs you have a shared bathroom for the 2 bedrooms, then an ensuite for the parents. So these are some things to consider when you're looking at your resale value. Ask yourself, when I sell, who is my buyer? Young families, downsizers, pet owners. And then check if the product truly fits a buyer in the long term. And then number 8, never buy if you don't have a simple exit plan. And what I mean by this is most townhome pain comes from one thing, is plans change, job change, baby, divorce, parents moving in, interest rates, and then just life in general, because life happens to everybody. And if you buy a townhome with no buffer and no time horizon, you can get trapped, especially if you need to sell during a slower market or when a big project is announced in the complex. A big project, like a big repair project that's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So what to do? Assume that you might need to live in the townhome longer than planned. If you have 2 kids, make sure you have room for a third, and maybe an office space if you need to potentially work from home. Assume that you can face surprise costs that often come up in stratas, and they're totally normal. You just need to budget for them. Parents coming to live with you, so making sure you have a spare bedroom if that ever happens. If the deal still works, considering all those things, you're safe. You're in a good position. And if it only works in a perfect scenario, it's not a deal, it is a gamble. So in broad strokes, you should consider buying a townhome if you're upgrading from a condo and you want space. You can handle strata rules with a bit of buffer, or you're looking to downsize and you don't want the headache of maintaining the exterior of your property and you want less space. But you should avoid buying a townhome if you're stretched too thin, or if you hate strata or shared governance. Anyone needing long-term accessibility, because stairs are a major part of a townhome. And then anyone relying on a rented out later plan, because townhomes for one are not the best to rent when it comes to the cost of the building and the cost of the unit and how much rent you can get, but also bylaws might block your ability to rent them. So if you have any questions about buying a townhome here in BC, let me know in the comments. I know a bunch of complexes that I would personally love to purchase into, some of the best townhome complexes in the Lower Mainland. So if you want a list of those, let me know in the comments. You can book a call with me if you're curious about townhomes, maybe if it's even the right choice to make in this market. Let me know, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.